one ever taught you how your desire actually works. You were probably taught how to be careful, how to be appropriate, how to stay in control, but not how to feel your own body. So when something shifts, when what used to turn you on doesn't land anymore, you don't know how to read it. You just feel the disconnect and make it mean something about you. But your body is not random. There is a system to your arousal. And once you understand it, you can stop guessing and start leading. That's what we're doing in today's episode. So, Barbara, when you think about what we were actually taught about our bodies growing up, about our bodies and, as they relate to sexuality and so forth, what would you say was completely missing, if anything?
Um,
By the way, this is a total leading question. I'm just going to call it
I
out.
know. I mean, but like it's so, I mean, everything that was important to live like your most amazing, extraordinary life, because we live
Yeah.
in the paradigm of the patriarchy and struggle and all the things. But that is like, you know, we could do a series that will be thousands of years long on this whole topic. But
For
like,
real.
yeah, basically, sex is an education. And I
Yeah.
think most people we never even think about it that way. We don't talk about it that way. But when it comes to women, especially, we were not taught about our bodies and what they can do and like the magic of our bodies and how intricate and special they are. We were taught how to behave inside of them. So that's
Totally.
the
Totally.
distinction.
Yeah.
Right?
I
We
feel
were
like it was like an education of here are the rules you must
exactly.
obey, not here's an understanding of like all of the power that you actually hold and all of, yeah. So,
Yeah, we
okay,
were
continue.
taught like we were given it was like instead of actually being, instead of teaching us about anatomy and how it works and things like that and responses and what happens and all of the things, we were given rules about how to behave in our bodies. Like be desirable, but don't be too desirable. Don't be too much.
Yeah.
Be sexy, but not slutty. You can dance, but don't dance like that. You
Yeah.
know, be pleasing, but don't have needs. Everything was all about like how can we contort ourselves to get the approval and love of those around us versus like actually allowing the body to have space and move and do and be in the way that it was naturally made to support us. So
Yeah.
what
It's
was
all about
really
being chosen, like,
yeah,
right? Like that's the whole thing. Pick me because I am pleasing because I fit into these criteria. And just before we get into why this is the way that it is and what needs to change and what we can change about that, I just want to say that this is something that's so pervasive and so old that most of us don't really we don't think twice about it, right? Like this is just what sex education is or what we're taught about it because of the way the culture's set up, because it centers men, because blah 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 blah. But like even the very basic things that we are taught are taught from a perspective of don't get pregnant, don't get a sexually transmitted disease, like how it's like pathologizing the source of life itself right from the get-go.
well, it's
Just as a
also,
side,
I
this
mean,
is totally off. Yeah.
bottom line is, and I was like thinking about this today, it really has to do with it wasn't that long ago that, all of this has to do, and again, this is like the overarching, what we were talking about in the beginning, it has to do with power. Because
Yeah.
for a very long time, not too long ago, and it's still happening in many countries, our fathers sold us to our husbands.
Yeah.
So
By the way, that's
we
sensationalized.
were the object, right? We were a commodity. We were there for the male pleasure. So I mean, we had to look a certain way and do a certain thing because it was a survival. Who knew? Maybe our husband would be like a psycho.
The
I mean,
chosen, right?
yeah, it's like the chosen. And then that never as a society, as a culture, that was never worked through. It was like, yeah, the feminist movement is only what, 60, 70 years old? It's not like that
Yeah.
long that started. And again, there's countries this is happening in right now, like today, where daughters are being sold to their husbands. And so, like, if you are an object, who's going to teach you anything about anything, right?
Yeah.
It just is not, it's
Yeah,
not a thing.
and it persists even if you're not even past like the transactional nature of it. Because I think about like my grandmother used to tell me all kinds of things about how I needed to be and look in order to be desirable for men. And she was not hiding the fact that it was to be desirable for men. She wasn't like be thin and be pretty and do these things. It was so that you will find a great husband and he will
Yeah,
take care of you. Like, it was explicit. Then my mother's generation was a little less explicit about it, but that was still coded into the behavior, and for me
absolutely.
too. And so this goes deep, girls, is really what
Yeah,
we're
it
trying to
goes
say.
super deep. And like the thing is, it comes back to power because if a woman who is being sold off into marriage even understood a little bit about what her body could do and how it worked, and women like globally understood it, you'd have revolutions because that is where our power is. So it is not like the most important thing that I want everyone to understand. It's like sex is an education. You didn't get it because it's the reason why you haven't received it, and you have to go seek it out. You have to come to channels and you have to come to places like Sensual Sisterhood and read the books because they didn't want you to know your power.
They
They
still don't.
don't want,
Yes.
yeah, they still don't. They still don't want you to know what your power is, how deep it is, how it works, because then you become dangerous. Because
Yeah.
you
And
you
you can't
become
be
dangerous
controlled.
because you now are like, wait, you can make decisions based on your own desires versus like what do they want? You're not okay, I need them to approve of like my smile or my outfit. You're like, I'm gonna wear whatever the fuck I want to wear. That
Yeah.
is the difference. A woman in her power is gonna be like, I'm gonna get up at 9 a.m. instead of at 7 a.m. when the whole world gets up because we're running on the man's clock.
Yeah.
Like there's so much to it. When you are connected deeply with your body and you understand how it works, you're going to get
Yeah.
into your power. You weren't taught about sex. You don't even know. I didn't even know sex was an education. When I started learning, I was like, whoa, this shit is an education. I think we talked about this in another podcast. It was like one class. Like the thing is that no education is education. Like I had zero education about sex. It was like, yeah, I was taught the basics. Don't sleep with boys, like get pregnant when you're married. My body was being used as like a production tool, right? Like not
Yeah.
like a sexual sensual tool, but be sexy to get the right husband in, but not too slutty. Like these kinds of like, and some of them were unspoken, nonverbal communicated rules, and some of them were verbal, but most of it was nothing, right? Most
Yeah.
women don't even have a name for their pussy, right?
Totally. Like I said, we were mostly the education we were given was not an education. It was a
Wow.
set of rules. Okay. So
Yeah.
that's like tenet one of this episode. You
Yeah.
were not given actually an education. You were just given rules. And
Right.
the rules that you were given, or what little education you may have stumbled upon, either through your own searching early on or what was, given to you, was a model built around male arousal. So
Correct.
not only are you not being taught about your own body, but everything you are being taught focuses on sex starts with his desire, with him wanting it, with him having an erection, with whatever, right? That arousal is fast and physical, and the progression, the process is linear, and it ends. The success is with his orgasm. And so like, and I'm not saying like this is what someone sat down and said to you. I'm saying this is what is woven into every expression you see of sex in television, movies, in stories, when people talk about it. Like that is the model that we were all taught. And certainly once you get into pornography, but that's a whole other can of worms. So, not only did you not get an education, you got rules, number one. Number two, the rules you did get were really based around male arousal as the centerpiece. And you were never, number three, taught that female arousal, for the most part, is this like dual control system, which is what I'd love to get
I want to get
into.
back to because it's like, let's talk about what was missing because we never really got into the biggest thing that was missing is how arousal works, how
Yep,
desire
exactly.
builds, how safety, emotions, safety and emotions and context shape how we feel. Like, this is really important. Most women think something is wrong with me because no one ever explained to them that their body isn't a light switch. That's male arousal.
Right.
Women is
It's
an
on or it's off. Yeah.
women is an ecosystem. So here's something that I say to clients all the time. This is what you need to understand, basic. Men can go from 0 to 100 in like 7 seconds. And that's what we were taught. Like, we actually weren't taught that, but we just assumed, because no one ever said not to, is that we should be doing that too. But female arousal, it's like it's like a simmer on a like in a pot when you're boiling water. Like, imagine what has to happen. You got to take the pot out of the cupboard, you got to pour the water in, you got to bring it to the stove, you got to turn on the heat, and then you let it simmer. You don't rush the water, you are there waiting, right? You're
Yeah.
like
You bring
letting
the
it
heat.
do its
Just bring the
thing.
heat and wait. Yeah.
Yeah, you're letting it wait. That's like the ecosystem thing. So it's like we were made to think that we were a light switch, but we're not a light switch. That's men. And that doesn't make them wrong. It's just understanding the difference, how their bodies work and our bodies work, and having that understanding. And that's what we didn't have. We never had literally the understanding. And when you don't understand the
Yeah.
ecosystem, of course it feels inconsistent and confusing and like it's not working. But the truth is, it's actually always working. And
Yes.
you were just never taught how to be aware, how to read it properly. We were given the rules of the behaviors of how to be in our bodies, but not the understanding.
Yeah.
Um, Nobody sat me down and said, here's how your nervous system impacts your turn on, or
Right. No.
here's how, here's how emotional
The
safety,
adults knew at that point.
right? Here's how emotional safety affects, here's how emotional safety affects your body's ability to open. But you know what? I know from my personal experience, if I'm disappointed with him, shop's closed.
Yeah.
Nothing's happening. Like,
Totally.
I know if I'm stressed, shop's closed, nothing's happening. And because we've done the work, because we are so deep in the work, we know that when that happens, we also don't make ourselves wrong. And that's the difference. Most women in those cases will abandon their bodies, because I used to abandon my body all the time. I would be disappointed, but then like not say anything. And then 3 days later, he'd want to have sex, and I'd be like, fine. But I didn't really want to have sex.
Totally. And so, okay, before we move on and talk about like the impact of this, because there is an impact, like our ability to read our own signals, but let's talk about what the system of arousal actually is, because we've sort of alluded to it, but let's get really clear on what the current understanding of female arousal is. Do you want to take us through that?
Okay, so you'll hear us, me and Marta, being like, turn on, get into your turn on. And this is like where turn on is actually such a valuable, incredible tool, like thing that women have, the turn on and turn off. That, again, this is something that we were never made aware of. And it's not like, you might hear us saying it a lot and it sounds like we're just throwing it around. It's actually a genius mechanism of the female body. And the turn on comes from, and what all women should be mindful of, and you want to track your turn on day to day, and I'm going to get to that later, but this concept of turn on came before this book was even written. So Emily Nagasaki, is that how you say your name?
I think it's Nagoski, Emily Nagoski.
Emily Nagoski. Okay, so highly recommend. This book is really important for you. Get it immediately. If you haven't read it yet, come as you are, reread it. I've read it a million times. Um,
It's called Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. We'll put
yeah,
it in the show notes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like the first time I was like blown away, like nothing is wrong with me. Like there's just a system happening. And what she teaches is that your body has an accelerator, like what turns you on, right? And
Yep.
brakes, what turns you off.
Yep.
And it's like that basic. And it seems like, wait, that's so simple. But of course, because the body is magic and has so much wisdom. So, and most of us have spent our whole lives trying to press harder on the gas. We were trying to push the turn on without realizing our foot was still on the turn off, was on the brake. So think of
Yep.
arousal like a car, okay? And you have gas pedal, you have like the gas pedal, and then you have
Mhm.
the brake. And
Yep.
gas pedals are anything that turns you on. So it could be like touch or anticipation or emotional connection,
Yep.
feeling desired, fantasy, novelty, lingerie, chocolate. I mean, there's a million things that we can go into of like what turns you on. This is what I was saying before. If you're listening to this, one of the tips I would give you, start tracking immediately what turns you on. It doesn't have to be sexual through your whole day. What turns me on? This helps you build the arousal. This helps you get into the mood, quote unquote, and also track what turns you off because that's where the awareness is. This is what I call, like in my framework, impeccable discernment. This is a incredibly valuable tool that women have not been taught to use. So important. So basically, here's the part where most women miss. You can't be pressing the gas and still not feeling and still not feeling anything, meaning like if your foot is also on the brake. Does that make sense? Like the
Sort of. I
foot.
think the way I know what you're saying, but I'm not sure it was clear. But to me, the way I think about it is so many women are like slamming on the gas, trying to give that more gas, right? They're trying HRT, they're trying whatever, they're trying new lingerie, blah, blah, blah. Not realizing that the emergency brake has been on the whole time, like maybe for a decade, and they can't let off of it because they don't even know it's there. So talk a little bit about
Yeah.
what the brake.
So the
Yep.
brakes are, and then this is the turn off. Like, so what we're really saying is like you're forcing yourself to go faster and go like press on the gas and go into turn on when you are been turned off, meaning like brakes are stress. If you have a lot of stress happening in your life, if you
Yep.
have a lot of pressure, if you feel self-conscious,
Hmm.
if you're feeling rushed, even in, this, like the speed of the male orgasm runs the world, and pussy has her own pacing. So if you are feeling rushed in any kind of scenario, that is a breaks moment. Um, Resentment, not feeling safe, not feeling seen, not getting the attention, right? Not getting the desire. This is the thing. If these are things that are true for you right now, they are creating charge,
Yeah.
and that charge is literally saying, your body is like, bitch, I am not going to perform for you because you've been abandoning me. So it
Yep.
doesn't matter how fast, how much pressure you put on the gas. I am a hell no. And instead of you being aware that's what's happening, this is the moment you make yourself wrong. And
Yep.
that is the heartbreak. That is where it's the saddest fucking thing, and it's like it breaks my heart because you are not wrong. You are not wrong. What's happening is you're not listening to your body because you don't know yet how to listen to your body. You don't know how to read it. So
Yep.
that's really the work. It's
Yeah. And
it's
I
really
think
the work.
exactly. And I think like you're saying, the heartbreak of it is you don't even realize that. But like the good news is that trying harder, putting more effort into building your desire isn't actually the thing. You don't have to try harder. You have to change the conditions that let you ease off the brakes, right?
Correct.
So as you were sharing the list of breaks, things like obviously finding ways to release stress, to manage stress, to unwind, to decompress, finding ways to slow down and be more present, finding ways to get rid of the charge that builds up from unspoken resentments, finding ways to be more at peace with, in love with, accepting of your own body and focus less, therefore, on the performance or the appearance and more on being in the moment. So there are things that again, that's not about effort. I know it might sound like effort when I say that, but really it's not like more gas pedal. It's how do I ease off the brake, right? How do I pull my foot back off the brake?
Right. Desire actually follows conditions. It doesn't follow effort. So if you're
Hmm.
efforting, that's not like it's like time to pivot because
Yeah.
desire follows conditions, and that's a good thing. That's where it's like, okay, this is where it becomes effortless. This is the feminine. This is where like do less to receive more. This is the part where it
Yes.
happens. This is the part that changes everything because you don't create desire by trying harder. You create
Right.
desire by changing the conditions. Like
Exactly.
if you are really stressed and that's a condition, it's like do that. Like what's the big stressor? Figure that out. And I know it doesn't seem like it's directly connected to sex, but like you bring your body to everything,
Yeah.
like it's like it's not separate. So it's like because the thing is what your nervous system is constantly asking, what your body is constantly asking is, do I feel safe? Do I feel
Yeah.
relaxed? Do I feel desired? Do I feel connected? Do I have space to feel? And if
Yeah.
the answer is no to any and all of them, your body is hitting the brake 24/7. So this is the
Yeah.
big like aha moment. If the answer really was no to any of those, it's
Yeah.
not a libido, baby, but like that's like that. It's like it's not like so you're broken. It's your body's really intelligent, and you get to celebrate her for saying for like, wow, she's been protecting me and being like, don't give me more because I can't handle it. I got to take care
Yeah.
of me. I got to release the charge of all of the stuff. I got to get back to. It's like I think about it as more like get back to neutral, clear the charge, clear
Right.
the stress,
Yep.
clear all of that stuff. Like something we do in sensual sisterhood is we do tools that are pleasure tools because before you get into your pleasure, you got to clear the charge. Before you can get
Yeah.
turned on, you got to clear the charge. Before you can really have a clear signal of pushing the gas like cleanly, you got to clear anything that's making your foot on the brake. You want to make sure you are aligned with that.
Yep.
So instead of asking what's wrong with me, it's what conditions, the reframe is what conditions does my body need to open? What conditions? What is it? Go through it. Ask yourself, sit with yourself, journal. Um, really, to what, even noticing what's turning me on, what's turning me off. Even if it's like resent from 10 years ago, you got to clear that shit. And by
Yeah.
clearing it, I mean, you got to
Just
get it
acknowledging it.
out of
Yeah.
your body. Once you get, because it's like, think about it, it's like, you're probably, if you are in your 40s or over and you have not cleared charge like that we're talking about, you are an overfilling cup. You're like at the brim. The water's here. Like
Yeah.
anything else is gonna spill over,
Come
and
to the
that
central system to clear that out.
anything else is like gonna spill over. And it's like, you know, you could. It's basically the difference between you get to choose. Do you want to feel like have an extraordinary turned on life, or do you want to be in
Yeah.
survival mode and like stay and be like something's wrong with me? Like that's what it is. And it's like
Yeah.
if you really want to have that like the turn on, the arousal, really learn about it, um, come play with us in Sensual Sisterhood.
Come play with us. Okay, so yeah, so step one, come play with us. But but backing up even before step one, it sounds like what we're really saying here is that fixing this, quote unquote, is not actually about controlling the experience more, adding in more ingredients to try to amp up the turn on. It's not about fixing your partner. It's really about leading yourself into, back to your own desire in a sense, which comes from things like noticing what's actually happening, paying attention, tracking what turns you on and off so you can identify what your gas pedals are and what your brakes might be, and then adjusting your environment and maybe the pace also, so that desire can emerge instead of like you chasing it down, hunting it, being like, come on, um, or making yourself wrong for the fact that you're not there. You're not a fucking light switch. You're actually water that needs to be brought to a boil. Yeah? Did I get
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah, and I mean, pacing is another, we should do another
Awesome.
episode on pacing. We should do another episode on pacing because that's a whole
Yeah.
other thing. Because that's one of the most important, like we're often rushing throughout the like, and it sounds so like absurd and so like something that we don't notice, but pussy like needs to slow down to speed up. So like
Yeah.
having
Absolutely.
slowness in your day, moving slowly, like oftentimes I remember like I would be like I'd be shoveling food down my throat like as a meal, and because I'd be running to the next thing or eating in the car or like the body, it was not like the female was, we weren't made to eat like that. It's like even taking time in eating a meal will actually help build
Yeah.
arousal. Again, desire, all of this builds. And right now, if you are where I was, like, what, 15 years ago, um, your body doesn't trust you. So the little things are what
Yeah.
create the trust
Totally.
with your body outside, where it's like, oh, she's like paying attention to me, but she's not forcing me to do something. Like she's being with me.
Yeah.
Like
Or
that was my
criticizing me.
experience. Yeah. Like that was my experience. Like I noticed the shifts in my body of like instead of like shoving food down my throat over the sink, how happier my body was with me when I would sit down and like cut the food and eat it. And it sounds so like basic, but when you start to live this like insane
Hmm.
life of going, rushing, like my body was mad at me. My body was upset with me. My body didn't
Yeah.
trust me. My
Totally.
body felt abused by me.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, they've given me 1,000 places that I need to like change things and improve things and slow down, whatever, take a breath. We're not saying you have to do all of the things.
No.
Start somewhere. And also, you don't have to do it alone. Like, this is literally why we created the Sensual Sisterhood, because we realize that you're out in the world living in this culture that will continue to send the same messages and reinforce the same beliefs and keep you busy and productive and rushing and all like the red carpet has not been rolled out to the feminine yet. So that's why we gather together in sisterhood. That's why we need each other. That's why we've created a safe space to actually practice this and get it into your body. Because the bottom line is, this isn't something you're going to think your way into. You're just not. It's something you practice, something you need to feel in your body in real time over and over again. That is what happens inside the Sensual Sisterhood. It's where it stops being a concept and becomes something you actually live. So if you're not there yet, check out the link below. Join us, come play with us, feel the difference for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
final words you want to add, Barb?
I just want to add is like just to like piggyback on what you said is like this isn't about like, oh my God, another to-do list. So like it's really about like how can you listen to us, our podcast, from your body versus your ears, because your ears have filters that your body doesn't. And if any of that resonated with you, anything, like that's amazing, good, your body's paying attention, you're paying attention to your body, and don't do it alone. Come to Sensual Sisterhood because we didn't do it alone. There's no way. Like it's
Yeah,
incredibly
absolutely.
tough. Like, and you want to have people to talk about with, and you want to like learn from other women. Like that's what they used to do back in the day before they like when there was matriarchy when women were considered goddesses. And like, that's what we're bringing back because it's time.
Yes, 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 to the matriarchy. Until then, please continue with your pleasure research. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Sensual Sisterhood podcast. We'll see you next week.